to see you.
It's so nice. I'm so excited to listen to you today. That's what I'm here for.
You're so yummy. And you know, to think about it, we met on Station Agent. You were, I think, 10. I was 20.
Trying my best to act like a grown-up.
But I remember Tom McCarthy being so excited about you being in the movie, and it was very sweet. And I think back on that film all the time. Everybody still adores that film, and you can't cross the street without someone yelling, "I love you in Station Agent," you know. But that was a beautiful experience.
It was a beautiful experience, wasn't it? Because of the people. A good time. Gosh, did I I loved every second. Pressurized.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, complicated.
Yeah.
But here we were in New Jersey with no money. Dinklage, Bobby Cannavale, you, me. It was this. John Slattery came in for a day to play my ex. It was just this, and Tom McCarthy had written this beautiful little gem of a movie, and we got to be in it. And he had never directed before. And you know, do you remember we were supposed to make it a year before we made it? And then we lost the money or something. Something happened, and we had to wait a year, and then we all gathered.
I feel so, whenever I see one of the gang from that movie, I feel that age again. I feel so warmly towards them. I feel like it was a very special moment.
It was something I'm, you know, when I see Pete, when I see Bobby, my heart lifts, and it just, I have a feeling about it that I love we all love our other movies that we've done, but there was something
so warm,
unusual about the chemistry. And we were in that, well, it was a Holiday Inn on the, it was the worst hotel.
It was terrible. It was terrible. The circumstances of it were so like
there were stains all over my carpet.
Yeah, icky. And I remember that we were out to dinner
one night. I think there was a body in my refrigerator.
You gave me a great piece of advice that I think of to this day. It was just very like actress to actress. Really? We were out to dinner before shooting the next day. And I'd ordered like some atrocious meal, and you were like, no Chinese food before you have to shoot in the morning. And I was like, what? Tell me more. And you were like, salt. And it was, I had no idea. It was like, but it was the wisdom that I really needed at the moment.
I remember it.
And I still, like, I thank you for that.
Oh,
and I have always.
And you don't eat Chinese food.
And I know.
No, I remember some like famous director had told me that.
Yeah, you said, I remember that it was a DP. You said a famous DP had said to you, please no Chinese food before you shoot in the morning.
So, but it's amazing how, you know, that little film made for $500,000, and then the industry, the independent, that time period, it exploded. Yeah. Remember this?
I sure do.
And then we had, you know, October films run by the great Bingham Ray, the great, late, unfortunately, Bingham Ray. He's with us today, I think, somewhere. He's always around, I think. But I think, you know, it exploded, and you really could make a movie for $500,000. It wasn't video, it was film.
It was on film, yeah.
Companies then started to dive, and independent film was ailing about, that was 2003, and it was on the rise, and then something happened, and independent film hit that big kind of downward slump. When was that about?
Well, it felt like for a while it started to become not independent.
Yes.
It sort of became like independent. Had its moment, and then it had this strange cachet to it, and then people were trying to capitalize on it, and it changed the inherent nature of the thing, and then it took this nosedive, and
it took
but Station Agent, that was such an exciting time to be in New York City. You just felt like you could scrape a couple bucks together and go off and make a movie.
And people, and it was film, it wasn't video, and he was able to really shoot this beautiful. Remember, we were on a wing and a prayer in that film, because I remember we lost a location, and Tom had to improvise, and he said, we're just going to shoot by the train station, and you're throwing the ball with the kids, and they're in the, he grabbed the producer's kids and put them in the film. It was the craziest. I mean, but that happened often. It was, you know, often it was, Tom was just having to kind of recreate things, and yet the inherent beauty of his movie vision remained. And it, you know, I'm thankful.
Sometimes the spontaneity that you have to incorporate when you're working on that kind of a budget becomes like part of the beauty of the thing, because it's really alive, because you're having to make these decisions very much in the moment, and then that commits itself to the movie, and so you're left with like this artifact that's really, you know, very often you would only get a take.
A take. You know? No, there was something. I remember we were shooting this, like one of the big emotional scenes, and there were speedboats going by. So I had to, unfortunately, you know, that grave scene, that in between speedboats.
That's amazing.
I don't want to tell you your business. It's your job to see the bad in us.
That's not my job, Miss Crellin.
I just want to remind you, there's good here too. No matter what you might have heard.
And it very different, like working in television now, as we both do.
We do. We both have, and neither of us have done a particular large amount of television.
No, and how do you find it? How do you find it different from other mediums, and how do you feel like it's?
Well, I think it's about the people you work with. Like, I watch you in Fosse Verdon, and to me, it's a movie. It's when I work with Jean, to take on this project and this frightening character, this brutal character. I was around me. It felt like I was making a little movie each week. It didn't feel as though we were on some kind of TV schedule or in some kind of TV framework or mind, because it was HBO, it was cable, and so we had luxuries,
right?
You know, and I love doing independent films, but we know we like having a. But it also, I don't think that took away any of the artistry or the brutality of the subject. And you have this in your work. You have this really emotional journey, physically and emotionally, and so I think it's nice that I think we both had these journeys that were not similar, but playing these women that had a very specific. But I really liked TV. I liked doing this. I liked.
Nice to have something that you return to. Often making independent films, you're in these very intense situations with people, but for a very short amount of time, and then you disband and you grieve them, you miss them, and to have the continuity of 6-7 months of the same people, it feels like
and the crews are so remarkable. You know, you get to really take them in, and your hair and makeup people, you get to stay close to them, and all of the people that in a film, it's so fast and fleeting. But it's hard because we, you know, with all of the people we meet. But when you work on this television, it really is. It's a lot of time spent together, and it's very long and emotional days.
Very.
And you know, I found great comfort in knowing that I would return that I had a long, even though this character tortured me in many ways internally, it somehow eased the pain. And I would imagine
to have
playing
the
Gwen
net
Verdon,
of
like, you know,
family.
it's such a beautiful portrait that you've made of this woman, but that, you know, week after week, you're great director. You know, you have how many directors on this? You've worked with.
We really mostly had Tommy Kail, who's
Right.
straight from, who's amazing.
Amazing.
And both technically and with actors. So, and he did most of episodes. We had 3 other directors.
Kids in the jungle are being zipped into body bags on the evening news. Richard Nixon is our president, God help.
John Mark did all 8. Of you. So it was really home week. Like there was a homeroom. It was like school. You returned, and he was quite a master. And possessed, and that was exactly what the piece was. It needed him. But I have a feeling with Thomas, like I mean, the journey you guys have all had to take. I look at what I had to do as Adora, and then if I had to add, and I did do a little dancing as Adora, but I'm saying is to recreate these iconic moments on top of the emotional life. You intimidated at first, you know, taking on Gwen Verdon and this, but she lives in you.
I miss her. You know, it's when you play these women, maybe you don't miss playing.
I love her, though. I don't judge her. I didn't judge her. I love her, so I didn't judge her. But Gwen.
No,
Gwen
as we never should. But
yeah.
I miss when you. It's sort of the same as like having like a long run in a play or something. When you.
Yeah.
Or
most of the time we're working. Yeah. Our movies we're doing.
The movies
most of the time. Well, you do it. We've done.
Sometimes I do a bigger movie. These little jaunts.
We were here every
but and you feel like so. Feels like family, and like the relationships become so. And this just felt like the most long-term family that I had really stayed in.
Absolutely.
And I miss that still.
I miss. I mean, I think most people would be shocked, but I do miss sharp objects. I miss the people that I was close to, and I missed Amy. You know, they were my children, even though I was not the best mother. I, in order to play that part, had to love them in a way that, you know, blurred. And, you know, Amy and Eliza, these beautiful actresses and beautiful.
I know.
And I was possessive of them.
I know.
I know. Girls. It's good to see you. Jackie, you finding everything?
Everything found me.
Well, enjoy, and please save some liquor for the rest of us.
Yeah, I enjoyed Camille's article.
Oh, I haven't read it.
You should really take a look at it.
When you're doing, like as I was saying, when you're playing all of this, you have to sing and dance and be this extraordinary. How did you prepare? Did you watch video, or did you really try to kind of take a breath? And how did you prepare?
It was sort of both. You know, it's using whatever material is available, whatever research material is available via YouTube, and becoming really familiar with that to the point where It's something I'd sort of picked up on Marilyn, is just you watch all this material until it sort of absorbs and you can just like sort of see it play in your mind's eye. So there's that, and then there's just the down and dirty of learning it. And you know, we're New Yorkers, so we have access to like the most incredible dance teachers and voice teachers and Juilliard. My dialect teacher is at Juilliard, and so I go to Juilliard, run up those stairs every day, and I go into the classroom, and it's like getting the real time.
Right. Yeah.
And so we would, you know, Sam and I both were just nights and weekends. You know, when we weren't doing one thing, we were training for the next, or when we weren't filming, we were learning the next dance, or like honor and joy, and also to be supported. You know, a lot of like indie filmmaking is feeling like unsupported, which has its own benefit because you make your own. There's no net, and so you're developing it for yourself.
Big television, there's a lot of. But you had Nicole Fosse.
And we had Nicole.
Was it just incredible to have her around? And
she was incredible because she was also able to, she's lived an extraordinary life, and she has worked so much on herself and evolved and evolved and evolved. And so she's able to come at this from a place of like complete openness and non-judgment, to where I realize like I say to her, I said to her then, like, you are just like my greatest ally, and like you just give me treasure, and I'm trying to, you know, make something beautiful with it, because she was, at first I was nervous, like, oh, if she watches me, nerve-wracking, she's gonna see right through me, and like, then I'm not gonna be able to do it. But when I just sort of like just accepted her and realized that she was only there as like an emissary of love and support, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take her in and just take her in.
Well, and you've done Broadway shows. I mean, it's every, on the days on the performing.
It is,
and you've got the chorus, those amazing
dancers, amazing singers.
They're
well, that's
incredible.
So great about shooting in New York, because you have all these incredible, you know, you've got Danny Burstein coming in, and you've got, and we have all these incredible guest stars that are all these like, you know, renowned theater actors. You're like, I can't believe that you're playing my gynecologist. You know? Danny Burstein.
How often do you say that? But it's exciting, and you're done. You know,
we are.
Yeah, you're finished shooting.
Yeah, we're finished. We just finished about a month ago, and
now has Sammy's hair grown back in?
Sammy's hair is stubble on his head.
It is. Okay.
We both look like a couple of Frankensteins underneath all of the, you know, because we age, and so all of the prosthetics. But when you take all of it off, you're just.
But it's very.
He's
subtle.
bald. I didn't have any eyebrows, like covered in.
But it's nice, you know. It's nice to have. And did you know Sammy before you did this?
I'd only known Sammy as like, you know, just a good, as like a
New Yorker.
As a New Yorker, yeah, just as a good New Yorker. We all know each other, but we just hadn't weirdly worked with each other.
I met Sammy when he was 21. I was 28. I was shooting Tune In Tomorrow, this beautiful film with Barbara Hershey and Keanu Reeves. And
in North Carolina?
In Wilmington, North Carolina. And there was cute Sammy, and there was 28-year-old me. And we were just, but we hooked up, and we just got on. I don't know how it happened. We were all in. I think, yes. I think the last thing I ever do, I'll probably. Get close. That's your father. And it's why I think I never loved you.
Can you talk to me?
Oh, God.
Can you answer some personal questions of mine?
Oh, God.
I want to know. Can you, in terms of preparation, like something that's something maybe that happens for you when you take on a role, when you initially start thinking about it, and then how that process evolves to while you're shooting it, and even like the night before, or the morning of, Are there little things that you've even just come to think of as like Pattyisms? Like these are just like your little touchstones.
Yeah. It's odd as I have, of course, enormous and great respect for writers, but for me, what is most important is not to dwell on the script. The lines will come. I think it's most important that I have an emotional life and center of this character, that I know the angels, and they're very close because you're going to need both at the touch of at the drop of a hat. And so, and a director can't help you with that often, and as you know. And so I think it's most important. I call it kind of walking the part. Like I cling to one thing the character has said, and I just walk it. I think of it all day. I think of it throughout like a week or two of time before I'm starting the project. And once I feel the emotional life, then I start to look at the words. But I don't want to look at. I don't look at the words
until you feel like you have this emotional.
I know, but what was interesting with Adora, because of just the nature of her, I realized to take her in an unusual way as an actor. I really one day, 1 week at it, one day, one episode at a time, and not even sometimes get to the end of the episode. Just think of what she is day to day, who she is, what she wants. Remain high with her, because she was going to go so low that, it's a very emotional for me to talk about, because the depth of where she goes is unforgiving and unforgivable. And as we know, as actors, it is not our job to judge. It is our job to be. And never in my life has that been so called upon for me with this woman. But I love her, and I stand by that, and I am thankful to have played her and to have entered that world. And so the night before I tried to, these dark journeys I was on, I tried not to sink, because I knew so much was coming, that I tried to stay almost vain about her, keep the vanity about her, till I got on the set.
So interesting.
And then let it all fall. So that's,
so interesting.
How did you?
So interesting. That is such a.
Some people would say it's a French way to work. I don't know.
That is such a choice piece of.
But it was just how I. But I also had, the remarkable Amy Adams around me, and Eliza, this exquisite young girl, and my director, who, brought every single fraction of every single moment. Nothing was left unexplored or charted or.
Were there a lot of takes? Were there a lot of?
Well, Jean-Marc works in a way that he goes from the beginning to the end, the beginning to the end, the beginning to the end. So he doesn't believe in shooting a piece of a scene. You have a big family scene in the kitchen, and you go from beginning. He's like, so you come in and you're like, I'm gonna have some coffee, and then maybe you put it down, and then you say, okay, I like this plant. No, I don't like this plant. And then you go over and you go like, you're gonna say hello to your daughter. Oh, I love you. No, you don't love her. And then you sit back down, and then you're like, maybe I do want some coffee. Okay, let's shoot. And I'm like, okay. Oh yeah, but I think it's beautiful for this project and what we were doing, and just the honesty and uh, and the verisimilitude. I mean, there was truth in it. It wasn't planned and orchestrated, and many of the scenes were just alive, and we had no idea. I did the scene with Chris Messina that was 4 pages. I saw you.
The cherry orchard?
I saw you in the
You
cherry
came,
orchard.
didn't you?
Remember
Yes, you
I came?
did. Yes, you did. I remember. Because
Well,
it was
I
almost
doing
right after.
I was doing Ride Down Mount Morgan that summer. It's the summer I became dearest friends with Amy Ryan, and we were in town. We had just come in to start rehearsing, and we saw your rehearsal.
With Linda Emond.
With gorgeous
Linda Emond.
I mean, the amazing Linda Emond. That still to this day remains one of the greatest moments I've ever seen in the basement at Williamstown, that production of Cherry Orchard. You were all perfectly cast. All you had on was your rehearsal clothes. There was no set. You were just in this basement, this raw, beautiful.
It was like station agent, just like sometimes there's these.
We rehearsed and it was, let's go see the run through of Cherry Orchard. And there it was. So you did, you know, I said earlier you haven't done television lately, but I know you did this very big show. You now realize, having done Dawson's Creek and now working for FX, how much it has changed.
That it's changed, yes. People had told me how much it had changed, but doing Dawson's Creek for 6.5 years, well, it was an incredible learning experience, just even from just a technical standpoint. We can do whatever we want. And so that experience, while teaching me a lot about one thing, also taught me a lot about more, I didn't want to be told what to do. It was very...
So, and then you didn't go back to television. You haven't even done, was this the first TV?
This is the first input.
Yes.
And then when this came around, people had been saying for a long time, oh, television's different now, television's different now. And I could see that that was true and that it was something that I should open myself up to. And then when this came along with Sammy,
I remember
Sam
when
Rockwell.
Sammy told me that you were doing it, he was beside himself. He was so excited about you doing this.
Always wanted to work with him, always.
Yeah.
Always. And so when it was him and it was Tommy Kail and it was all these, you know, New Yorkers, and at home, I said, okay, well, yeah, I want to try it again. And Stephen Levinson.
Where did you shoot this?
We were all over the city. We were in all the boroughs. We were Staten Island. We were. It's really important for me to try and stay at home as much as possible.
Yes.
It's just the only way that I know how to do both things at once, parent and this. So I was like, oh, great, a 7-month job at home. I'll take it. And then what I found is very much like what you were saying, is that it's not television. It's not, or it doesn't have a mentality of being television, of being like lesser than, or being. They're like little mini movies.
Little every day. It's the same.
And it's just a longer.
We do have some control. We do have input. We do. It's not formulaic. We're not answering to a very specific. We're not living by like a code of conduct. Oh, I was going to say something naughty, but we can spread our legs if we want to.
Our legs are, and our wings.
Can we say that on Variety? I don't know. Well, you had a specific person to be.
But have you been on a journey with your voice because of doing stage and because of doing? Have you found that your voice has changed, or that you alter the way that you sound for?
Of course, everyone talked about, like, when I was doing Adora, that I was whispery, and I was like, aren't I kind of whispery? But I think the body never lies, and the voice always follows if the body isn't lying. So I think the voice will rise. I think the voice will come. It will match the body. It will match the character will define your voice. I mean, as much as you had to sound like Gwen Verdon, I never thought of you as I was watching you of doing a voice. I thought of you as just Gwen.
Thank you.
You know, I never, it didn't, so maybe that's the best part.
Because if you get trapped in it, then it's just a voice, and then it's sort of all that you can hear. But I mean, it's been such an interesting part of this sort of training that I've endeavored to take on sort of later in life in terms of all these places to figure out how to better use this, the only thing that I have to work with, and thinking about voices, you know, where it's coming from in the body, and where the, I worked with this wonderful coach at Juilliard, Deb Hecht, and we talked a lot about it.
Deb Hecht taught me at Yale.
Stop it. Just wonderful.
How crazy.
Well, we worked on Gwen together, and we talked so much about where the voice, where it was. We sort of found that it was coming from like this idea of an ego, like something that could appear to from like her ego center, something just sort of locked in, because it was a lot of also changing as she aged from 30 to 60, the voice progresses and the voice changes. So body, it's a bodily, it's not really the voice, it's actually like it's actually where it's located in the body, and how it's resonating,
and how it's
through the body.
And that, you know, I think as we age as actors, I think we become more comfortable with, I think we become more comfortable in our body. I think they become, hopefully, more seamless.
Aging.
Yes. As we age, we
actually get more facility with the thing that we do.
This is the insanity of working. That's why we should be working more as we age, because we're way better.
So much.
I wore fishnets today. I just want to make sure you remember.
I'm
in honor of Fosse.
I'm
I wore these for you.
I adore you. But I mean, we're lucky that we can. They're all like whatever happens, in terms of this, the theater will always. I feel like it's always, that's a place that, with Glenda Jackson on stage now, which we should go see.
Television and movie, they're changing. Things are shifting. Yeah, they're getting better. They're
Let's go
better.
see Glenda Jackson.
Are these wooden, these nags? Yes, they are. Okay.
Okay.